Joining me now is Congresswoman Maxine Waters, Democrat from California. And Congresswoman, I've noticed that for all the talk that the Democrats don't have a message, there has been a real unified effort not to play on the president's turf rhetorically. What do you think of that?
Well, I think that we've learned a lot about this president and the way that he manipulates the press and the way that he tries to divert our attention from the real issues. And what we have learned is not to allow him to get away with that. And so I think we're being very successful talking about our issues, talking about health care, which is a very important issue in this country, talking about housing, Medicare, Social Security, talking about the infrastructure, and we are winning because of that.
California, there are a bunch of competitive races in California. Your congressional, your sort of state caucus might change quite a bit. What does it say about the sort of changing nature of your state that you've got these Republican-held districts in deeply, deeply conservative, formerly conservative Orange County that are neck and neck?
Well, what it says is that this is the Trump party, and those Republicans who resent it have not been able to stand up to him and to actually get him to change, and now it's impacting them, and they're losing because of him. He is destroying the Republican Party, so it's all because of the Trump party that I think we're winning in these deeply conservative districts, like Orange County, where so many of the candidates are coming from.
Nancy Pelosi has talked about a kind of corruption package of reforms that she wants to introduce should Democrats take the House. What's your thinking on that?
Well, you know, there's always talk about, cleaning up, politics, cleaning up what goes on in the Congress of the United States. That's not new. Both sides talk about that all the time because they know that people do believe that there is corruption, that there is dishonesty. So it's a continuation of talking about what do we do to become better legislators, to become better policymakers. What do we do to get the confidence of the people back again? What can we do to prove that we're there about public policy, we're there about dealing with the issues, and it's not just about ourselves and trying to better ourselves because of the titles that we have.
You will presumably, if Democrats were to take the House, you would be the chair, I believe, unless something radical changes, of the Finance Committee. It's a very powerful position. What do you view as your agenda should you ascend to that role?
Well, it is the Financial Services Committee. It's a very important committee, and we have oversight responsibility for all of the financial institutions in this country. The banks, the big banks, the small banks, we have the insurance companies, we have all of HUD, we have the International Monetary Fund. We have to deal with some issues that have not been dealt with properly for a long time. We've got to deal with the National Flood Insurance Program. We've got to deal with the XM Bank. And so it is an important committee. And, at the top of my agenda is dealing with the reform of Fannie and Freddie and trying to make sure that we do something about the housing crisis. But, of course, I have to make sure that we never again, to the best of my ability, fall into what happened to us in 2008 when we had the exotic loans that were, given to people in this country. Many people lost their homes. But, of course, many of the people who lost their homes were in communities that were targeted by some of the biggest banks in America. So we have all of those financial services issues, and there's a lot of work to do. And I'm hopeful that certainly we will take back the House and that my colleagues will see fit to support me to chair that committee. I have the seniority. I have the relationships. I've spent a lot of time on Dodd-Frank reforms and trying to save them, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, all of that work that we have been doing to try to give consumers some protection.
Final question. There was a really fascinating item about the number of sort of enforcement actions the Trump administration has brought in the first 20 months versus the last 20 months of Obama. Huge decline in how many enforcement actions against the big banks and financial services with this administration. Do you think Wall Street and the big banks are hoping the Republicans keep control of the House?
Well, I have to say that they must be thinking that because they have found a lot of support from Republicans for everything that we have tried to do to bring about some fairness and some justice with these financial services companies, et cetera. We have been absolutely fought against by the Republicans, and so they see that the Republicans are certainly more friendly to them and certainly more supportive of their ability to continue the way they have continued historically. The banks really have controlled the Congress of the United States of America, and many of our colleagues have said, oh, you know, all that's complicated. We don't understand derivatives. We don't know what they're talking about when they talk about Volcker. And so they have gotten away with, you know, the kind of language that they use in the way that they produce their products. And so many of our colleagues have just shied away from that and let them do what they want to do. And so they have enjoyed being in charge of, you know, all of their issues in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. And so I think they are a little bit worried that the Republicans will not perhaps be in charge.
All right, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, many thanks.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.